Hey, what's up, and welcome to my corner of the internet. So within anime, it's pretty customary to have separate arcs, separate chapters, how it builds up the story, how it changes the story. Well, one of my favorite animes that I've probably ever watched in my entire life probably has a top 5 arc to me. Now, this arc is everything to me. It's incredible. It shifted the story. It created so much change, the character development. There's so many moving parts within this story. And the funniest part about it, it created some great power imbalances. There was so many conversations of philosophy, of personality. There's so much within this arc that I loved it immensely. And I don't know how many people rate this arc, but this arc I just remember feeling so emotionally tied to this arc. And the arc I'm coming from and speaking about comes from D.Gray-man. And you already know how I feel about D.Gray-man. This is one of the arcs that made me genuinely love D.Gray-man, and it gave me such anticipation for the story, where it was heading, and it answered a lot of questions that I were anticipating to be something of being there. Like, there was so much greatness within this arc. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So at this point in the story, Alan, our main character, hears about the disappearance of an exorcist. He has to go help, and he is traveling towards the Asian branch. There's all sorts of different parts moving around. But the main point of it is there is something happening, and Alan has to go save it and deal with it. So within this moment, we see that Alan is also getting fatigued. He is also losing a bit of himself. He's working incredibly hard, and it's back to back to back, and his progression and his injury. And there's so many pieces of this part that were just so well done within the story. The point that I loved most about this arc was the conversation of the inspiration to go fight against the Akuma. This is something that was talked about, how as we have our main character, Alan is very resolute within his want to fight against the Akuma. It's pretty much set. This is his character. We know what side he lies on. We know how it's going. We know how he feels. If you ask him, you definitely know the answer. But in this point in the story, you witness an exorcist who does not feel the exact same. He did it for money. He did it for family. He did it because he wanted to support his family. It's not because good and evil. He only cares about getting to his wife and kids at the end of the day. And that's one of the most realistic and human moments I have ever experienced in an anime. Like, this arc, I just felt it. I understood it. It made so much sense why Suman Dark would betray the exorcist. And sorry, a little bit of a spoiler. We find out the reason why Suman Dark has fallen, and he's turned into this terrible form that's basically ripping and destroying and killing itself and imploding, basically, and Alan's trying to save it at the same time. And then we see flashbacks within Alan and his experience of being able to witness how the Innocence is trying to kill Suman because he betrayed the order. He betrayed God's gift or representation of God, whatever. He betrayed that, and now he is basically sided with the enemy and given information and betrayed. And the Innocence is, I guess, from God. So he's done something that is indescribable, and now he must pay for this. And he did it because he basically was found by Tiki Meek, and he just decided to sell out information. And this is just one layer. This little layer of it, then you start getting into dynamics of war. The idea of people are just tossed into war, and this holy war between these two sides is not filled with so many black on white sort of places. This is one of those things where everyone comes into a war at different places. Just because others are more resolute than others doesn't mean they all feel the same. Everybody has different.
戸が落ちになった人間を生きて助け出すことは不可能だ。
Pieces of reasons why they go outside, why they do what they do. And it's not like Alan, who just seems to be black and white. And this is where the story starts to see the nuances of gray. At this very point, we see the nuances of gray, the different shades, the reasoning, the changes, the story shifts. It becomes a greater and bigger world. The emotions of each and every character. It's not so we're doing this for right or wrong. We're doing this because our side decided that this is something worth fighting for. And we're also against the other side. And I love this arc because it just opens up the entire world, and our main character, we understand him, but we also see how resolute he really is, and we basically see an almost death. We see a breaking of his innocence. We see so many different things happen to Alan within this arc, and we see genuine human affection. We see all sorts of beautiful things within this anime. And what makes it so much more amazing is Alan is filled with so much forgiveness. And that's the greatest point about this anime arc, is Alan's filled with so much forgiveness and love, and it's almost like foreshadowing a future power-up that comes from this event. This future power-up is almost an acknowledgement of Alan's love for both sides of the coin. And that is such an incredible thing to think about, how the power and even Alan's speech and conversation within himself and outside, as he begins to recognize his role within this war. And it's not even on either side, it's gray. That's so incredible. Like, you see the black, you see the white, and then you see the gray that's within his hair. There's so much foreshadowing and beauty within this Sumin Dark's Fallen arc, because it gives us just a little bit of a heads up of what's to come, and understanding of Alan as a character. And of course, he has to go through this traumatic event where he basically dies, but he's saved. This is why I rate D.Gray-man so highly, because this arc is just different in shonen. This is one of those arcs where it has you allowing to think a little bit deeper about the understanding of human nature, war, all sorts of different aspects that have happened throughout human history, and the philosophy of good, bad, right, and wrong, and the choices human beings make, and what makes us do what we do. I think the author of D.Gray-man is a genius. She created something that is so incredibly well made that I can only appreciate this arc every time I watch D.Gray-man. I've rewatched D.Gray-man at least 5 times for this very moment, because I see so much beauty and wonder and incredible things within this medium that were showcased within this arc. Like, if you've never seen D.Gray-man, this arc is incredible. You should watch it regardless of what you know, regardless of how you see what I've told you about this arc, because D.Gray-man has done so many emotional things, and it wasn't even the most popular shonen, and it's barely surviving on a thread, but this arc is so rated highly for me that I just want more people to love D.Gray-man for me. Like, this arc is magic. It's perfect writing. It's perfect foreshadowing. It's perfect in the way that it sets up the story to really open up. And some of the greatest shonen arcs are able to open up the world, change our perspective, and allow us to see that it is more 3-dimensional than it is 2-dimensional within this story. There's feelings, there's emotions, there's perspective. There's so many different things within this story that I hope D.Gray-man finishes within my life, because if I'm seeing Hunter x Hunter get a chance to come back and do its thing, D.Gray-man can definitely make a splash, because this is one of those animes that low-key, it is kind of in my top 3, and it ain't 3. I rate D.Gray-man just that high. So, long story short, this is one of my favorite arcs to ever be created because of the philosophy, the characters. There's just so many wonderful things and conversation that can be had about this arc, and I rate it so high. And those that have seen it, I know feel the exact same as I do because there's just such a beauty to how this was created, and it feels like such a very nuanced arc filled with so many pieces that are just understated, especially when it comes to understanding the human heart and the human will of choice. And man, I just love D.Gray-man. So if you've never seen it, please go see it, specifically for this arc. This is one of those animes that deserves so much love and attention, and I will never let it die that D.Gray-man is one of my favorite animes I've ever watched. Anyway, peace, have a great day, thank you for watching, and be easy.